What's up, traders? It's Vincent Mokotedi from Vinboss Signal Factory. Today we are going to discuss the losses and lessons of the week. I would like to mention that I'm one of the few traders online who would definitely share their wins, both their wins and their losses, without hiding each and every single week, so that we can show new traders or traders who are seeking consistency to see how the trading psychology apply in the market. So with that being said, traders, let's jump straight into the markets and understand last week's losses and this week's lessons. So traders, we are going to explain firstly on the euro dollar. We had 1.4, which is 1407.68 cent. This is the only um, signal that was taken because it was an overlap. If you do remember and go back to the videos, you would understand that we did take this signal a week before this current week, and then the signal held over from over the weekend, and then we took profit during the week. So as the pound and the dollar, we did make 702 US dollars, and euro dollar we did have a break even. The second trade we did have 773.56 US dollars. This is my account, of course, and the pound and the card 1095.60. This is the first trade, of course, and then on the euro and the pound we did have two losses, of course. 166, which is what I'm risking per trade, $166, which amounts all to $332. And then we did have a break even on US dollar card, and then a signal right now that was a loss, of course, $166, which is amounts to this week's losses as 166. We already have a running trade right here in the US dollar and the Canadian dollar, but it will not be mentioned here or recorded here because it will only be recorded once we do have the results. So with that being said, traders, let's go straight to the euro and the pound to analyze the lessons and the losses of that week. So traders, kickstarting off with the two losses that we did have on this currency pair. The first loss, as we all remember, came from this spike, and the second loss that we did get came from this spike, and then we had a re-entry. Now let's explain what happened. Now, after the break of structure, of course, what did we expect? We expected a pullback, a retest, and a continuation to the upside. Rather, we did get a deeper pullback. This is the lesson. The market was not strong enough, even though we did have a change of structure to the upside. The market was not strong enough to turn the tide, just retest the weekly break of structure and then continue to the upside. Rather, it did have a deeper pullback to retest what was our supply zone, which now acted as the demand zone, of course. And after retesting this, then it gave us bullish patterns and formations, of course. And this was the expected setup. Firstly, this is the first setup, invalidation. Second setup, bullish patterns right here that we have. And then afterwards, the re-entry right here, because we got stopped out by, this is now too much messy. If you pay close attention, you will realize that there is a deep spike right here. This one took our stop loss from this level, boom, and then after this we did have a re-entry around this, and ever since we have been going up. Even though it is not yet at take profit, we almost reached our take profit. And with the real account traders community, of course, we did put the stop loss around here just in case we do have a deeper pullback. We'll be looking for buying opportunities to continue and take our profit. And with that being said, the take profit of this trade will be 1:9.25. This would be 1:9.25, the risk to reward ratio to the upside. And traders, I want to mention something again. Now, with this setup that we do have, you must go to our everyday videos that we post where you can realize that we were looking for selling opportunities in the beginning of the week. But for me, this was not enough. I was waiting for this to break below and then look for shorts, of course, to continue to the downside. But as I suspected, the market took this to the higher bounce of the week, did make a new high from last week, of course, breaking up to the upside, which is the weekly break of structure, of course. We did expect this to boom to the upside, but after that, we did get invalidated, and then after the invalidation, a price buy again and a re-entry to the upside. What we did have was last week, if last week was this, if this was last week, this week was sort of like this. This is if last week ended here, and then this is the new week. Do you understand? We do have a two wave up to the upside. What do I expect? One more down before continuing to the upside, but this will be discussed in the weekly forex forecast that comes out on Sunday. So traders, with that being said, this is the lesson that we have learned on this, is that the euro was strong, but not strong enough to continue to the upside without a pullback after breaking the weekly break of structure, of course, right here. And the fact that the market here was not ready to go straight to the upside. Indeed, that's why we did have this spike that wiped out our entry, and then we did have to do a re-entry and then a continuation to the upside. So that is it with the euro and the pound. Let's go to the last but not least currency pair that we did suffer a loss on, which is the US dollar and the Canadian dollar. And with the dollar card, what we did have is we were expecting to buy opportunities, of course, to the upside. It did came down to this break of structure, of course, and I did mention that this week was closely related, so anything can just happen. Break of structure is closer to the new high. It was not that much of a difference. So with that being said, I remember it was on Tuesday when I say I still haven't traded because of it still not have reached my break of structure, of course, to retest it to the downside, which is 1.3787, and the market did continue to the upside. And after that, it was on Thursday when I took the first trade here. And with the first trade that I took, I did have a break even, of course. After this, we did put the stop loss to entry. And with that being said, we expected the market to continue to the downside, but it did not happen as such. And we did mention that this first and second demand zone are particularly a great place to look for selling opportunities. Of course, if you are going into if you are still biased to the downside like I was not looking for any buying opportunities, of course. And here we did find the second trade. This is the trade that I'm talking about that says we are still in, but after the break even, before we get to this trade, after this break even, when the market pushed back up, did try to get in from these levels, and we woke up with an exit to the upside. And I did mention that this looks like it was going to the upside, but overall I was bearish. It was on the Friday daily video that we do make. It was Friday, it was the 19th. Yes, of course, it was the 19th. And it's very easy for traders to really lose their mentality over this. If you do have this a setup like this, you go down, you get a break even, and you get in here and you get an out. It's easy for traders to get trapped into trying to buy and say, every time I try to sell, nothing really is happening, so let me try to buy. And then they start to buy from here to the upside, and then that's when they blow their account, which is unnecessary, of course. But I would also like to mention a few things. I would like to tell you guys that Winboss Signal Factory has an 80% winning rate. You have seen on the post that I just made there on last week's track record of the free YouTube watch list. And for you to register, you have to To join our real account traders community, of course, you have to register under our exclusive link and verify your account. Fund a minimum of $100 or more for you to start joining the real account traders community. And then you WhatsApp proof of registration and funded account to 06806053332. If you are having problems registering or you are having problems funding, please make sure you already WhatsApp 06806053332. This is where we will help you register, of course, and we will also give you the private Telegram channels. We will also give you the private WhatsApp groups, so that whichever one you prefer, if you prefer both, then it's still fine for you to get in both, because you are a registered and a serious trader. The reason why we want you to fund $100 and more is because most traders are out there trading demo accounts only. They are not really serious, or they are just funding $20. And we want serious traders. This is a group of serious traders. This is a movement for serious traders only. So $100 shows that you are a very serious trader. So with that being said, traders, let me go back to the charts. Of course, we are now traders. We are now looking for selling opportunities again. With this, a continuation might come and then take out structure right here at 1.3722. And with that being said, this would be 1:12.14. We already have a break even, of course, on this setup. Please make sure you do join the real account traders community so that you do not miss any of the updates. Like and subscribe, traders, to this channel. Like and subscribe to this channel. Make sure you do not miss any live updates during the week. And with that being said, we will meet again tomorrow with the weekly Forex forecast. And if you are not with us, this is the first time you see a trader analyze this, his analysis like this, please, I do repeat, please make sure you like, you subscribe, and you go over the videos. Have a pen and paper. I always advise people to have pen and paper so that they can understand our trading analysis for the past 2 months, or maybe a month, or even 3 weeks. It will convince you over 3 weeks with the weekly Forex forecast, and then the daily videos on how to tackle it, and the change of structures that happen during the week, and the psychology behind how we do this. So the last lesson of this was that after this market pullback and the break even, the lesson was the pullback was steeper. It was not yet done, and we needed it did not reach the 1.3826, but it almost reached it. So that's why I did see that this was going to break this low, of course, and when it does break the low, I need to be in a position of profit before it does. And I did expect it to come to this and retest, but what we did, break to the downside and retested the bigger structure, of course. And then after testing the bigger structure, it looks like the market is now already going down. So in the opening of Monday, I believe this would be the continuation to the downside. So traders, that is it. You have learned the lesson of this week. Make sure you like and subscribe to this channel. Thanks and happy weekends.